This is episode 43 of the Gauntlet podcast. My name is Jason.
My name is Meguey.
And my name is Steve.
All right, awesome. Meg, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, totally. I'm happy to be here.
So listeners, that is Meg Baker from Night Sky Games and Lumpley Games, and we're going to be talking to her about some of the stuff that she's got going on game-wise later on. But for now, like always, we're going to start by discussing some of the games we've played. I normally let the guests go first, but I think both you and Steve, Meg, have much better picks than I do this week, so I'm going to go first just to get my fast thing out of the way here. So I played Monster of the Week. We've talked about Monster of the Week a bunch. Just to recap for any listeners who might not know what it is a Powered by the Apocalypse game that essentially tries to tell the story of like the TV show Supernatural or the X-Files. It's episodic, so every session there is a monster that your crack team of monster hunters is hunting. It's a lot of fun. It's probably, after Dungeon World and Monster Hearts, it's probably one of the more popular like hacks of Apocalypse World. The one thing I wanted to talk about though, just real quick, it's had a revised edition, so this is actually the second edition of the game now, and they have made permanent, or they've made one of the playbooks they've made a part of the permanent set is called the Spell Slinger, and in the past I've never really liked it. Like I've always thought it's a little tonally like off to me. It's essentially like a combat wizard, and all their moves involve like just spells, it's just like a pure spell casting kind of playbook, and to me, especially like the mysteries that I run in Monster of the Week, it clashes a little bit with, well, my mysteries are more investigative in nature. There's more investigation and like a narrow slice of combat kind of at the end with the monster. I have always in the past been kind of like, maybe we have these playbooks and not these other playbooks. But last night when we played Monster of the Week, I said, okay, let's do Spellslinger. you clearly want to play, there was a player who wanted to play the Spellslinger, so like, let's do it. And I had a lot of fun adapting my mystery for it, because I feel like whenever a player, especially in an Apocalypse World game, whenever a player chooses a certain playbook, they're kind of sending you a signal about what they want to play and what kind of game they want to have. And we've talked about that before, Steve, this idea of like players goalposting for the GM, right? So I had to make some adjustments so that my mystery would have some elements in it. Like I had to adjust the dangers a little bit so that there was a chance for that player to get to use his sweet combat magic. And it worked out great. To that player's credit, he also adjusted the way he played the character a little bit to kind of fit in with the more like investigation style game that I run. And so but he did it like in a magic way, right? So he was doing lots of like magic based forensic investigation, and the way he described his little mini rituals to investigate different parts of the scene that they were in or whatever was pretty cool. And I got a kick out of it. It was good. It felt good to get out of my, my little box as far as the Monster of the Week playbooks go. So, and that's all I wanted to say about it. It's a great game. It's awesome. I'm not going to go into the mechanics of Monster of the Week because, and the intricacies of Apocalypse World, because we're here on the show with Meg Baker, and that would just be weird. So I will, we've done that plenty. That's all I wanted to say about it.
I just want to throw in that the, magical investigator, or at least the magical character fits as an investigator, because the Spellslinger is basically just the Harry Dresden playbook.
It's Dresden, right? Yeah.
He is a PI at the very least. So I don't know. I think that fits a little better than you might think.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Dresden Files, and so that's probably part of it for me. It's not something I'm just super familiar with. My point of reference for Monster of the Week is it's really X-Files and like camp horror, like camp B-movie horror, but like with a layer of investigation, kind of added onto it. So it's just not a thing that I'm super familiar with. And so I've always been kind of like, I don't know how I feel about the Spellslinger, but it was great fun. I can't complain. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Cool.
Meg, you want to go next? What games have you been playing?
Earlier today, we did a opening, first session of Freebooting Venus.
Okay.
With myself and Effie and Emily Care-Boss, and Vincent was running it, and it's just fun. Oh my gosh. I just love that game. It's so deeply steeped in like a beautiful crossbreed of Jack Vance and Tanith Lee. Amazing, weird stuff. And it also reminds me very much of some of the deeply surreal games that I ran as a high school student, where it was just really stream of consciousness. And Freebooting Venus isn't quite that, but it has potential. Epi had a spellcaster person-y magician who, in the course of the game, had to spontaneously come up with some monsters because he invoked some monsters. And Vincent said, all right, what are they? And he had been getting, like, well, all the time we'd been doing character creation, Epi kept getting these calls. So he said, it's a telemarketer. And Vincent was like, all right, totally. Just roll with it. It's a telemarketer. It has like 7 heads and they're all whispering different things. And it was so funny. And it's that sort of like always a yes and, sure, great. Telemarketer. I get it. Something that's saying, taking up your time and getting in your way and it wants to eat your stuff and, all those fun things. It was really fun. And like I could go into the details of it, but one of the things I really enjoy about Freebooting Venus is that you have this balance between terrible experiences that you have and experiences that you want to have. And, you're driving toward one that you just, it's like, oh, hey, I killed a monster this week. Yay, go me. And in the process, I was terribly injured. And it's just really fun. I'm really looking forward to that, the further development of that game. And right now I'm living in a little attic and my little attic garret is infested with whistling bats. And
Nice.
That's always, it's just this neat, weird stuff. So that's super fun.
For our listeners who may not be following the development of the game, just what's like a quick summary of what it's about?
You're on Venus, and you are kind of you're freebooting on Venus, meaning you're kind of a free agent. You're trying to sort of make your way, however you make it, and you're on Venus.
It's as advertised on the package. You're a freebooter on Venus.
You're a freebooter on Venus. Yeah, straight up. It's very, very much like, the Vancian Lee crossbreed there of just wonderful, almost surreal fantasy stuff happening. If you take the Barforth Apocalyptica that we do in Apocalypse World and just spin that so that it's spew forth phantasmagoric weird pillars of teeth and just castles of purple cloud that have green goo pouring out that people are swimming in at the bottom, and just the imagery that goes through my head is all the like really high fantasy pulp covers from like the 60s where you have all kinds of like weird green swirly spaceship, but not spaceships because that'd be too sciencey. It's all whatever.
I'm sitting over here being very gleeful because I was about to interject with what you were talking about reminded me of, which was all those great old surreal covers from books from the 60s and 70s that I have a ton of.
Straight up.
Yes, that's it. Man, artists back then. Yeah, they
weren't timid. They were not timid. They weren't constrained in a way.
I think they were just sort of told,
just bring it.
Yeah. Paint something crazy. Here's some things that appear in the book, and do your best. Just go wild. And I think I don't even know what to call that style of art, but yeah, that's exactly what I had in mind when you were talking about that.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what this is, and keep an eye out for it. The other thing that I find fantastic about Freebooting Venus is how much it's like playing a slice of life, but it's weird. There may not be some huge epic quest. It's just, the three of us, there was this ruffian guy who'd been kind of bullying our friends and things like that. And we got the drop on him it's like, oh, you know what? You're going to pay for being a jerk. You're a jerk. And that's it's pretty much what happened. I accidentally killed him. I really didn't mean to. Really, really didn't mean to. But there's no like big boss. There's no huge quest line. It's things like that. It's, you have your life. And then like, oh, hey, I have some money. I think I will invest in a merchant business. And now I have a third share in a bale of Purser's cumin spice that might bring me great wealth. I don't know. We'll see next time. It's fun.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything else that you've been up to that you want to talk about as far as playing games?
Last week we played the Dread Geas of Count Vulku. I don't know if I'm getting that completely right. Epi's game with the Dread Tower.
I just remembered it.
That's not Dread.
The Dread. I think we settled on the pronunciation is Gesh. The Dread Gesh of Duke Vulku.
Duke Count. Yeah. I died terribly in that game. It was delightful. Very. It did its job. The Dread style of using the Jenga tower, it just works to tension a game. It's really brilliant. It was actually the first time I'd ever played a Dread or Dread variant game. So that was
really?
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That's
very surprising, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
I know, right? I live within walking distance of Epi, and it's the first time I've ever played it. But it's probably because Dread came out before we were within walking distance of each other. And so what happens now is that we're all, when we get together, it's often like, here's my new thing, or let's play test that thing, or this just came out, or stuff like that. Yeah, it was cool.
I'll point listeners to episode 34, I think, of the podcast, when we had Epi as Ebediah Ravishall for listeners.
Sweet.
He talked about the Dread Gesh of Duke Vulku a fair amount on that one. So is there anything else you want to say about that?
No, that's where we're at in terms of what I've played recently. Other than that, it's like, I don't know, various card games and role-playing games. Like our middle son is schooling us at Perquacky these days, which is a word spelling
I don't know what
game.
that is.
Oh, man.
Perquacky, yeah.
It's really good. It's old school.
Okay.
It's like a 70s, it's a 70s game. You roll some letter dice and you make words as quick as you can. And apparently you like trounce your parents. It's kind of...
That's what kids do, though. That's what they're good for, right?
Yeah. That's good.
Awesome. Steve, what did you want to talk about this week?
So I wish that I could report back to you on One Night Ultimate Vampire, because I've had that for like a month and a half, just waiting for an opportunity to play. And one finally came up Wednesday with my friends. So I got it out, and they were like, well, okay, but let's, we haven't played One Night Ultimate Werewolf, which this is a variation on, in a while. So
Werewolf was the first one, and then Vampire came out after, right?
Yeah. And so the plan was just to, reacquaint ourselves with the mechanics. It'd been like 6 months or something. And then we just got absorbed in that and played it for like 3 or 4 hours. Update on One Night Ultimate Werewolf, still awesome. But I've talked about it so extensively, I don't actually want to go back over that.
It's so dependable and reliable. It's such an awesome game. Like, you can pull that with any group of people. It's essentially a werewolf variant, of which there are a million. It's a pretty good one, though, as far as those go.
Yeah. No player elimination, which is nice.
Yeah. Apart from one night, you said you listed Lacuna. Do you want to go about that? Or
yes.
Talk about that.
Playing our 4th session, I believe, of Lacuna under at least 1 or 2 time podcast co-host Farrell. And Lacuna Jason, I think you've talked about it probably even recently.
No, I think it was Dan. Actually, Dan played Lacuna recently.
So.
Yeah. It's been years since I played it. Yeah, it's been like at least 2 years since I played it. Yeah.
It's a game that feels tonally sort of like Dark City. What am I forgetting? Dark City, The Matrix. What's the other Christopher Nolan one I'm forgetting?
Or Inception. It's kind of an Inception vibe, right? Yeah.
And where you are agents going into a dream world to go about missions, more or less. We've covered it recently, so I don't really feel the need to go over what it actually is. I really enjoyed our session. It's looking like it might end up being the final session, though we had a couple more planned. And that is fine with me, because we basically ended it where inside the dream world, I think we at the very least destroyed the dream world. It was in the process of becoming apocalyptic.
Woohoo!
The impact that might have had on the real world, like we might have destroyed humanity, and we weren't sure. And the game ended.
It happens, like you do. I mean, it's a thing.
And the game ended as we were one by one exiting the dream world, and then that's where we left it. We don't know what happened. And I love that.
I'm so jealous of you guys having played it in multiple sessions. I've only ever played a one-shot of it. There's a lot of, like, when you play it in a one-shot, it always feels like there are these, like, tendrils of things that you want to grab onto and go investigate or look at or explore, and, like, you don't really quite get to do it. So it's all, I don't know, if you're lucky, you might solve, like, one case. The idea is you have these people who are social outcasts or misfits or criminals or whatever, right? And you're a part of this organization that, like, dives into their dreams, this like shared dream space called Blue City, and you are trying to find the monster in Blue City that causes them to be criminal or insane or whatever.
Yeah.
And so if you're lucky, you might get to that monster, but always it feels like there's so much more going on in Blue City, and I want to like just keep playing in Blue City, but I've never managed to do it more than one session. So
we got to see some of the, what is actually going on,
like behind the curtain a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was very entertaining. And Each session, we went through 4. Each one ramped up from the previous one very nicely. So I thought Farrell did a really good job with that.
Awesome, cool. And so listeners know, it's Lacuna Part 1 by Jared Sorensen. Really great game. We'll put links to all this stuff. Why don't we go to the next segment? Our next segment is Giving Me Life. This is where we discuss something not necessarily related to role-playing games, though it often is, that's giving us life. Meg, what's giving you life right now?
We periodically do something here in Western Massachusetts called Coffee and Game Design, where we get whoever feels like driving to where we are. We get together and we hang out at a coffee shop and talk about games and drink coffee and talk about games and eat food and talk about games. It happens periodically, basically whenever somebody says, hey, let's do that. But recently, a really cool thing that's very inspiring to me is that over the past months, Vincent and I have been talking about doing a museum in game design.
Oh, okay.
It's very cool. I work at two small local museums, two different museums, as a textile conservation specialist, and that in itself is just overwhelmingly cool. Like next week I get to do conservation work on a child's suit, a little boy's suit that was made in 1750.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Okay.
I get to do some restoration on it so we can put it on display. What? How cool is that? Oh my god! Wow! Okay, so I'm psyched about that. But the intersection, I know it's not necessarily related with RPGs, but it is, because that's my life. We had the first museum in game design where we brought a bunch of local folks who wanted to talk about games to one of the museums that I work in, and did a little tour and talked about all the different stuff and here's all the different things, and let's think about different ways in which history and artifacts contribute depth and richness to our actual lives and can also influence and add depth and richness to our game design and our gameplay. So that's a huge, amazing, ongoing jumble of material culture and oral history and family history and how much there is there and how cool that is. And I also have a really cool intersection in that recently, because over the last weekend, we had snow days on both Friday and Monday. So we had a surprise 4-day weekend, and I got to dig into a whole box of letters and papers from my family from the mid 1800s.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
That was just really cool, old deeds and old wills and just super neat stuff. That's what's being really inspiring and cool in my world.
Awesome. Steve, what's giving you life?
So this week, what's giving me life is co-host Rich.
Okay.
Rich couldn't be here for this podcast, for the last couple actually, but he's going out of his way to edit them, which I know is a pain in the ass. And he's doing it on the week in which he just moved. The man is exhausted. Yeah,
he's a trooper. Yeah.
Yeah. He's really doing us a solid. He's really helping out, and he's going to, once we can actually find a day we can work out a schedule, teach me how to edit so I can take some of the load. But his perseverance here is really helping me out, and that is what is giving me life.
So the thing giving me life this week is, Steve, I know you're going to love this. I just started playing this video game. I don't normally do video game stuff for Giving Me Life, but I just started playing this video game called Her Story, and it is incredible. I'm not too far into it yet. It's awesome. So what it is, it's a full motion video game. When you're playing the game, it's on a computer and iOS, I think. Mm-hmm. It's got this old database style interface, and you click around and it's hundreds of little video clips of this British woman who is giving recorded statements, and this is real video. It's not it's not graphics. It's video of an actress. She's giving these recorded statements to an off-screen police officer because her partner has gone missing. When you're playing the game, what you're trying to do is you're watching all these video clips, and they're not in any particular order. You just kind of search around and kind of just look at them as you wish. And there's a way you kind of take notes and stuff, and you're basically trying to solve the crime as if you were it was a police procedural thing. Oh, I love it. It's so good. Cool. Yeah, it's so good. It does something that I'm a big fan of just in all media, which is it has non-linear storytelling, which I love. Any kind of movie or video game or the occasional role-playing game where the story is being told jumbled up and out of order, and I, as the person watching it or viewing it or consuming it, I have to put together the story myself. I love that. Like, it speaks to me. And so, her story is really, really great. I think it's like $5. It's totally worth it.
Does it,
go check that out.
Does it present you going in with what the mystery is? Like what you're trying to solve?
Yeah. There's like a little tutorial how to use the tools, and it kind of goes over it there.
Okay.
Because it's like this made up like computer interface. It's very, very neat. And I'm not too far into it yet, but I can already tell just by the clips that I've watched that like there's this really interesting puzzle story going on here, and I can't wait to put it all together and figure out who killed this guy.
Cool.
Yeah, that does sound really cool.
Cool. Let's go to the next segment. All right. Well, we're here with Meg Baker, and we've got tons of questions. I will tell you, Meg, at the outset, it's really hard, like, getting it down to just, a dozen questions, because I want to talk about Siren, I want to talk about 1001 Nights, I want to talk about everything, but we have to be...
That could be another time.
Yeah, we have to be selective. So I think, Steve, you had some questions about Meg's newest game collection, Playing Nature's Year, so why don't you go ahead and start?
We've talked about it a bit before, at least, but...
I'm a pull quote in the back of the book, so...
Oh, that's right.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Let our listeners know what is Playing Nature's Year.
Playing Nature's Year is a cycle of 8 short seasonal games that you can play with anyone. Like, some of them are just straight up dice games, where you're just rolling dice and doing a little manipulative thing with very quick play. Some of them are much more contemplative and longer, and there's a character and story. One of them involves walking around your town. So it's an assortment of games that I designed basically, for a couple different reasons. One of them is it is kind of a love letter to living in New England. I was born in upstate New York. I spent the 80s in Southern California, which I don't recommend. I tell my kids that I lived through the 80s in California, so they don't have to. And then I moved back to Massachusetts in 89, and I've lived here ever since. So I'm really steeped in the New England year and all of the stories and like the little wishing games and fortune-telling games and fairy tales and all that sort of stuff from my childhood also found its way to come through these little games. I really wanted to create a cycle of games that followed the seasons of the year, that were super accessible, really thinking about everybody. Like, could I play this with my 5-year-old nephew? Could I play this with my grandmother? Could I play this with pretty much anybody who might be open to sitting down with me for 20 minutes? And yeah, that was one of the places that I started. They all use sets of 10 dice. That's the kind of the quirky thing I think about them, is that pretty much every player needs a set of 10 dice. Mine are red, and yours are blue, and yours are green, and yours are orange, whatever. And that's a little quirky. And that comes out of playing Tenzi like all the time 2 years ago.
What's Tenzi?
Oh my gosh, do you not know Tenzi? Tenzi is fantastic.
We're up to Perquacky and Tenzi.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so 2 great games. So Tenzi is a wonderful, super quick little dice game where you have 10 identical dice. And the deal is we hold them in our hands and we're like, okay, go. And then we roll our own dice, and we're just rolling our own dice as quickly as we can to make them all show the same number face up. Like, okay. On my first roll, I got 3 5s. Okay, cool. I'm going for 5s. Next roll, 2 5s. Great. Next roll, no 5s. Crap. Next roll, no 5s. Crap. Next roll, 4 5s. Awesome. Yay. And I'm just trying to go as fast as I can while you're trying to go as fast as you can. And it's super fast, super fun. And there's like at least 70 variants that they published an expansion to, and I've played all of them. And then I built on some of them. Some of them are straight up the little quick dice games that I then used as mechanics in the different Playing Nature's Year games. And some of them are just, inspired by how do I switch this around a little so it's the mechanics for a role-playing game instead of just a straight up dice game.
Right. I've played a couple of them, and this is sounding very familiar. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
We've sort of covered the next question. How did you get started on this?
The first game for Playing Nature's Year is called The Holly and the Ivy, and it came I kid you not, like Athena full-born from the skull of Zeus. It was awesome. It was awesome and a little frightening. Like, okay, Epi, here we're back to Epi again. Hi, Epi. Lots of shout outs to you this time. Epi does a thing every December called Epimus.
Epimus,
where,
yeah.
he puts together like a bundle of different games. And a couple, I guess it wasn't a couple of years ago. I guess it was just a year ago. We were sitting there wondering, like, okay, what are we going to do for this year's Epimus? Who wants in? What are we doing? What's the theme? And we were sitting at the coffee shop, Epi and Vincent and I. He and Epi were talking about, Vincent and Epi were talking about, like, what are we going to do for this? And maybe I'll put that in it. Maybe I'll put this in it. And I just was sitting there thinking, like, okay, I've had Run in a Epimus bundle. I've had 1001 Nights. I did another thing. What do I like about winter? What's exciting about Christmas season, holiday lights, snow, solstice, things coming back? And then it's just like, and it just came. I was like, oh my God, give me a pencil. And literally I was like, no, don't ask me. Don't talk. I'm just writing. And I pretty much wrote the entire, at least the whole first draft of The Holly and the Ivy sitting there at the coffee shop. It's like, I'll tell you when it's done. Shut up. That's how I got started. And then that was just really cool. And I thought that was neat. Can I do that another 7 times? I don't know. Let's see. So it was like a personal challenge. I think this is possible, and I want to try.
And I like that you filled out the book, since these are all fairly short games, but it's they're
wicked short,
hefty chunk of a book. You filled it out with essays and recipes even and things like that.
I totally loved that.
I especially like the recipe for apple cider that sounds like it might kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But if it doesn't,
it'll taste
great.
It's so good. It will not kill you. It will so not. I promise it will
I'm not familiar with
you.
it. What is it?
So
Steve,
you get some local cider. You get some local cider, unpasteurized local cider. If you make your own, that's special extra bonus. And you get your jug of cider and you take a big swig of it, and then you set the jug down.
Oh, it's unpasteurized is what you're talking about, Steve.
Right. And so you put it up on top of your fridge with the cap like very loosely on so nothing falls in, but it's gotten a little bit of yeasty bacteria. And then it begins to semi-ferment.
Okay.
So good. Anyway, it will not kill you. Do you know why it will not kill you? Here's why it will not kill you. It will not kill you because as things begin to ferment a little bit, the alcohol that releases will kill off any harmful bacteria. You'll be fine. You'll be really fine. You'll be fine. Anyway.
I've worked a lot of food service, and so I'm paranoid.
Then go pasteurized or buy hard cider or whatever. Make lemonade.
I still want to do it. Don't get me wrong.
You just have to work up to it.
Right. So, like I said, I played a couple of the games from Playing Nature's Year. I did play The Holly and the Ivy, and I played At the Stroke of Midnight.
Yay! Yes. Oh my gosh.
That's my favorite from the bunch.
Right. So what I found interesting about those games, at least, I haven't read through the rest, so I'm not positive this is a thread through all 8, right? But those games at least call for a very personal investment, I would say, from the players.
Yep.
That I think you don't find in a lot of games.
Yeah.
Specifically, what I'm talking about is in The Holly and the Ivy, the players you'll play through a story, but before you start, the players they basically make a wish, and they make a wish as the players, not like my character wants this, but you as the player sit there and think about what you might like.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do the equivalent of win the Tinsy game, then you get to actually make your wish.
Yep.
And whoops, hold on. What was the title? Crap. In At the Stroke of Midnight. There we go.
You're going to ask a
player,
question of your beloved one, right? Yeah.
Right. You basically think about what you would want to ask of someone who has departed, someone who's died, and that's not only personal, but kind of heavy. Speaking from personal experience, and it really, both of those things really brought me into the games in personal but like simple ways, right? Like it seems like such an easy thing to, it's basically a line of text or 2 lines of text in the game, but it draws players in pretty deeply. At least, again, speaking from my personal experience.
Yeah.
How have you seen this affect play when you've played these games with people?
Strangers cry in front of me.
Yeah, I was there for one of those.
Yeah. It's not in a
like Oprah,
I'm so angry
bearing your heart
at
out
you,
to Oprah Winfrey,
and not
right?
like bearing. Just like strangers are willing to be actually authentically moved in themselves to a place where their emotion is right there on the surface. If you play LARPs, you can get that sometimes when you're like playing a character. I played a wonderful, wonderful session of mobile. Gosh, I'm gonna bungle a name. It's a mobile crew. Shoot, it's from Warbirds. Mo Jave wrote it.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know the one.
I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
But you'll link to the right one when you
sure.
So anyway, it was amazing. It was like totally emotional, really grabby. Still loving it, like months later. But that emotion that I stepped into and put on, that's not to say I'm not accessing something that reverberates and connects to actual experience of my own, but it's something that is a step sideways. In Playing Nature's Year, the games here they're not kidding around. They're not putting like, okay, let's have you be a character and let's create you being into this emotional situation, which is, oh my God, amazing. Like, if you haven't played Luke Crane's Inheritance LARP, what are you doing? Go play it now. Luke, put that thing out so I can run it. Damn you. Because that's amazing. But in Playing Nature's Year, I'm doing something different. I'm providing a space for people to access and express emotions that are there anyway, that are in their hearts, in their minds. And it's not just emotions. I'm not just looking to like churn the emotion wheel. I'm looking for, what do you wish for? What do you want to say to someone who has died? Where do you want to wind up? What are you building in yourself? So these are questions. These are questions that I'm asking the players to enter into in a different way. And I'm not asking them to come up with the answer at the beginning. And I'm not asking them to have a finite ending to that. I'm opening a question in themselves, a space where they can reflect and connect that to nature, to the cycles of life, to possibly other people, other players, or other family members, whatever, where they're thinking about how they inhabit the world and how they go through their life in a slightly different way, where maybe they have more access into that sort of pondering nature of their own nature and of nature of the world around them.
Meg, occasionally it comes up, we bring up on the podcast that I kind of like games that make you sad and pursue that, and would just like to say that the At the Stroke of Midnight definitely accomplished that. I had to, I was on the brink. I had to blink back some tears because I was the one who made it to the graveyard and got to ask my question.
Yeah.
So congratulations, you made me sad.
That's okay, good. If you like being sad,
and I say that jokingly, but that is good.
Achievement unlocked.
Yay, go me. There's another factor to that, though, which connects back to making it a game, like a series of games that anyone can play. And that's that I'm hoping that there's a gentleness there. That I may have made you sad, and that's okay, but that I didn't hurt you.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. Like, if I brought you to a place where you could experience, like, I am sad, but I didn't force you to that place, and I didn't put you in that place by, like, anything I did to make you sad. And part of that is that I keep having in mind the full spectrum of playing this game with, who am I playing with this? I want to be able to play this with a kid who, oh my God, they will bring the most amazing stuff. And it is vicious and it is beautiful and it is brutal and real. It is so damn real to play with kids. But they're also going to bring sad. Like, this is a sad thing. And they're just sitting there dealing with it. And making that place, making that framework where you can be sad, like, great. I want to know about that. If you want to tell me, sometimes, this is what I experienced in playing this game. Cool. I'm good for that. Everything in Playing Nature's Year loops back to the connection to seasons. It all loops around. It keeps going. It's not a finite thing. Everything has context. The food, the stars, the trees, the animals, all the essays that are in there to provide context for all these experiences we have. And that your sadness and your grief and your wonder and your joy and your questioning are all part of it. And they're all okay. I think that's a rare thing in a game. I'm very, very proud of what happened with Playing Nature's Year. It's the only game that I have out right now that people write to me and say, this really moved me. I would like to order copies for my family, in other parts of the world. How do I do that?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
It's not just like people going, oh my God, we played 1001 Nights. It was great. And my friend wants to buy a copy or whatever. It's like, I need to share this. It's an emotional connection. Yeah. I need to share this with my cousins that grew up with me in Vermont and now we're scattered all over the world. Can I order copies?
Lastly, for Playing Nature's Year, what's next? Are there any more plans for the Patreon you have set up?
What's next? Here's the thing. I really very much want to do a similar cycle of games that, instead of the seasons of the year, use the phases of the moon as a framework to analyze and examine and have the same sort of reflective experience and conversations about the cycle of life, conception, birth, blah, 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 all the way through death. I put out what I think is the prologue. I think of it as being the prologue. Was my last patron supported thing. It's like it's a game about conception. I don't know how clearly it comes across, but I think it's funny. So it's this funny little joke game of like, all right, y'all try and get in the circle and only one of you will. Yeah, it's funny. And I really want to do that. I think it's neat. And I have a whole file full of notes and stuff about what the different games will be. But I kind of have this major other game project I'm doing like right now. So that kind of gets in the way of doing a smaller projects. So I guess I want to do that with the Patreon project. Yeah, I'm on Patreon. People can back me if they want to. But right now it's kind of weird, right? Because I'm doing a lot of other strange things and I don't really know what's going to happen. I promise that something will. That is certain. I'm just not sure how soon. With Playing Nature's Year, one of the wonderful things about having it be supported by Patreon is that it gave me a rhythm, to fit with all the other rhythm things of Playing Nature's Year. Is like, there's a new game will come out every 6 weeks. And because of this other major game design project that I'm working on right now, I can't promise that right now. So the Patreon is there, but it's in a quiescent period.
Yeah,
it's hibernating.
Yeah, exactly.
It's winter.
It's the dark, cold time. We have a winter warning here for the next 30 hours of do not fucking go outside. I am not even kidding you. It will kill you. With wind chills to 30 below. Like, not even kidding. So yeah, it's everything's hibernating.
To give you an idea of where I am, after we stop recording, I'm going to go turn the air conditioner on.
Oh man. Hello, Phoenix.
Let's move on to Apocalypse World's second edition. So why was now the right time to produce a second edition of the game?
Fury Road came out, and it was like, oh my god.
Such a good movie. Oh man,
I
love it.
Oh my god. Yeah,
so good.
Like, yes, totally. And I saw it I took a whole stack. I do this thing regularly where I take as many teenagers as I can possibly get and take them to a movie. I took 24 teenagers to see Star Wars Force Awakens.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So fun. Oh my God. But Fury Road came out. I took a bunch of teams to see it. We totally loved it. I came home and I said, Vincent, they put our game on the screen. I saw it 5 times in the theater. Holy crap. And that happened just at the same exact time as we were, you order a bunch of books and then you ship a bunch of books out and eventually you have to order more books. That happened just at the time we were getting really low on stock and we're about to put in another order. And instead of doing that, we saw the movie a couple times and looked at it and said, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. We want to do some things. Let's do some things. That was the impetus for
Cool.
let's do a second edition. Was really the collision of those two events is something that was so beautifully part of the vision of Apocalypse World and timing. And then what happened is that our oldest son went to college and that ate May until September or October or whatever, just the whole schmear of life happening. That meant it just waited till now. And then now is when we could get all the pieces in a row to do it. And, because of the way we run any crowdfunding that we do, we wanted it to be done first. We could have done we could have done a Kickstarter starting June 1st of last year, right after after Fury Road came out. We could have said, oh my God, we're going to do a second edition.
Right.
But it wasn't done. And that is just, I don't dig that. I want it to be
the turnaround on Playing Nature's Year was insane.
because it was done,
The campaign's over. Here's your book, right?
Yeah.
It was like...
Yeah. 100%. Because, and I think Apocalypse World second edition, it's going to be a little more because there's a little more logistics, but the text is done,
Yeah.
So it's something we feel really strongly about. We don't want to hold back anything we want to do, and we don't want to promise anything that we haven't done. We've seen friends really run into problems with doing really successful Kickstarters where they've said, and for this stretch goal, I will make a whole second game.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, what are you doing? Those are, so I guess that's the third factor as to why now, as opposed to why not 6 months ago, is because we wanted to, write the damn thing.
So for people who are familiar with Apocalypse World, what are some of the changes you guys made? What are fans of the game going to be really excited about?
Based on what I just said about Fury Road, I really dig the new battle move structure. I love the stuff that we've done for handling vehicle combat, making the parts of that were in first edition more streamlined, fleshing out the parts that weren't. I really dig that. I love the new history, the way that that's kind of flipped. So, because it was always a hitch place when I would run it at conventions where people were like, okay, how does this, I ask you and you do what? How does this, that's smoothed out and really good.
Okay, good.
I wrote some rules for prosthetics, which I'm really pleased with, because if you go back and watch Road Warrior and Thunderdome and Fury Road, all of them have a character that has different prosthetics or different, stuff going on physically. We really wanted to bring that forward. I really dig how gigs worked out and broke out from some of the character playbooks that didn't make it into second edition, breaking out the operator into gigs for everyone.
Gigs all around.
Gigs for everyone. Yeah, for sure. I really dig that. Barter been reworked in a way that I love seeing how that works. We have an in-house group of, the teens I mentioned who've all just come back from Deadpool, who are super awesome. Like, by and large, I just dig them. And they're always really, really enthusiastic about any playtesting. So it's really neat to be like, hey, will you check out how this works? And, then I go upstairs to a different floor and I can just hear the flow of like, oh, they're excited and engaged and things are going well. Awesome. I don't have to be there and see who rolls what, but I really like a lot of the stuff. I could almost be like, okay, kids, what do you like best? But that's what I think is good stuff. And we don't want to just rest on like, oh yeah, we know they're going to love us. Like, we do want to sell it a little bit, like who is new, who hasn't seen it or heard it or things like that. And we want to make sure that we're not just assuming that it's like, oh, you know it, it's Apocalypse World. Like, We want to continue that sense of this may be the first role-playing game you've ever encountered.
Right.
And if it is, wow, that's, I mean, we have that experience at PAX East.
Yeah.
People
yeah,
going,
yeah.
what is this?
Cool.
I'm like, they've never played, which is really cool.
I just came from the Magic Table, and I just want to see what this was.
Usually it's not from the Magic Table. Usually it's from the video game hall of extreme light and noise. And like they've just been playing Grand Theft Auto or War Dogs or, I don't know. The Mad Max Fury Road game is good too. But anyway, so that's the thing. Like we wanted to make it engage for everybody.
I saw in my email an update from the Kickstarter about hardback books.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. The printer that we work with, which is a worker-owned collective in Amherst, we've been working with them for a decade. We asked, is it possible for us to do a hardback? Have you guys ever done that? And they said, as a matter of fact, we are right now running our very first ever hardback copy. It's an open question, but it's an open question with a very positive slant. We just need to figure out what all the details of it involve. So, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Cool, good. Yeah,
That's a thing that
I know a few people who are fence sitting, hoping that there's a hardcover. Yeah, I do. I know some
just
people.
a few. Yeah, just a few. And that's one of the factors. We need to think about quantity and just stuff.
Yeah.
It goes right with our ethic back at the top of do everything we want to do and don't promise we're going to do anything we don't know we can do. Like even when we started the Kickstarter, that was not yet something that was really an option, but now it's more of an option. So if we can figure it out, then that's super.
All right, you've got an upgrade from me probably if you can make it work.
Well, we'll see how it works out.
All right.
Okay, we have a final question.
Okay.
Let's say we're playing 1001 Nights,
Okay.
but instead of being courtiers in the Sultan's palace telling stories of myth and wonder, we are handsome, smooth-chested werewolves in the present day, telling stories of legendary hunts in an effort to entertain our pack alpha.
Awesome.
Two-part question. Question one, first
Okay.
part. What sorts of food do we gather to get us into the spirit of the game? And question two, what is a werewolfy ritual we observe at the table while telling our stories?
Okay, so food to get you into the game. Make chicken wings, leave the bones in.
Okay.
Wolves actually eat a lot of frogs.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody thinks of wolves as being like, yeah, they take down a moose. That's like a damn lucky day. Wolves actually eat a lot of frogs. You could have chicken wings, and you could like barbecue them up if you want. That would be cool. You could do any kinds of like nuts and berries and stuff, because most animals that we think of as being just carnivores or just herbivores they actually have some omnivore bit in there. You got to just have water. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Could,
the party's not as fun now.
Water, yeah.
Except we're smooth-chested, beautiful werewolves. There's that. So.
Right. But, so that's the thing. Since you're smooth-chested, beautiful werewolves and not just straight-up wolves, you'd also might want to throw in, like, some ribs, of course, because, why not? Nod to the, like, take down giant beasties. Sweets is being a little challenging. I guess it'd be, like, some sort of sweet berry, something like berries and cream would be nice. Then you get a little bit of the bloodiness, like the red on the cream.
Good
That'd
touch,
be cool.
yeah.
And then just go for, if you need something like a little stronger than water, just go for something that's clear. So yeah, that's what I would.
All right.
That's what I would.
What's our werewolfy ritual we observe?
And werewolf ritual. I almost want to say that you have to play musical chairs before you sit down. It would be about hierarchy, and it would be about who gets to sit where. And Pack Alpha would get to rearrange the seating
As he wishes. Okay, good.
At the beginning of each story to say, you come sit over here. And there'd have to be hugs because wolves are very physical, and there's a physicality, and there's also like a smell thing that's, like getting our smells on each other thing. So you have to be like, all right, everybody hug everybody else. And if you don't hug someone, that's okay, clearly you're on the outs with them. Okay, duly noted. So yeah,
good.
That's what I would.
Awesome. That's good. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's all we've got.
Cool.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? It's been a lot of fun.
That was totally cool, and we should talk again. Like you said, sometimes like, oh, I'm talking about.
Oh, I've got so many other questions. Like,
some other time.
If we had 3 hours.
Do that. I'd be totally up for that.
We will definitely have you on again in the future.
Cool.
And I will have played it. If we talk
Yay!
Yeah.
Quick secret tip in playing Siren.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take teleportation. Teleportation is can be a bit of a trap
Oh, okay.
in Siren.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I could see that. Actually, that's great because Gauntlet UK Steve is getting ready to play Siren.
Yeah.
So tip for the UK players.
Okay. Yeah.
Tip for the UK players. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, Meg. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Sure.
Yeah,
It
thanks
was
a lot.
blast.
Yeah, so much fun.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I will see you next time.
Listeners, that's our show. If you want to get in touch with us, just go to Google Plus and go to the community section of Google Plus and search for The Gauntlet. You will find us there. We also run online games on Gauntlet Hangouts. You can find the link to Gauntlet Hangouts also in our G Plus community. As of this recording date, we have 43 events on the calendar, and most of them are full, but there are still some spots available. So go join our Hangout group and play games with us. We're on Twitter as well, but it's such a joke. Oh man, I never tweet. I'm the lamest tweeter of Twitter of tweets or whatever your role is. I'm terrible at it, as I mention every week. But go follow us. It's at Gauntlet RPG if you care to. Thanks again, Meg. Thanks, Steve.
You bet.
Thanks for listening,
Thanks,
listeners. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
His perseverance here is really helping him out, and that is what is.
Did you say perseverance?
I don't think so, but considering I said inaugurable, I think on
You
the
said
last
inaugurable last time.
it is very
inaugural, right? You
possible.
said inaugurable. Yeah.
Language is not a finite or finished thing. Perseverance might be perfectly reasonable.
I tongue tie whenever we have designer guests on the show. I always tongue tie because it's one thing when it's just us, the regular co-hosts, but then we have like these designers on whose games I've been playing for years, and it's like,
Yeah, but have you seen how many words we make up? I mean,
It's true.
what the heck is a seclusium? Right?
I don't know, but Orphony has one. That's all I know.
There you go.
Awesome. Or is it Orphone? I don't even know how to pronounce
Yeah,
that.
who knows?
Who knows?
If you listen to Vincent, talking about Orphone of the Three Visions,
Orphone. Okay, yeah.
but his pronunciation will be like different depending. Who knows? I don't know. Who cares? Whatever.
I have that, and I've always said Orphony, but I don't know. I like Orphone. That sounds more exotic or something. So.
Yeah, and I think it's probably a Greek versus Roman pronunciation, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I guess you'd have to look at the origin of the word seclusium, right? That would tell the tale, right?
It's true.
Like,
In theory, if it were an actual word.
Right. Oh, that's right. It's not real.
It might be. I don't know.
It sounds real. It sounds like
legit.
A place where one secludes themselves.
It does. It's a completely legit construction of word parts to make a word sounding thing, which is totally legit, and also what Steve just did. So we're all good.
Yeah,
Inaugural.
yeah, Jason.
Or no, it wasn't inaugural. I've already forgotten your word, Steve.
This time around, I don't remember. I just remember inaugurable.
Yeah.
Because I listened to that episode today and I was like, oh man, I'm an idiot.
I heard it on the QC. I was like, oh, he's gonna love that. Okay.